Hey, y'all. Hey, if I were to mention history to you, what would you think about? I bet you'd think about the past. But history isn't just about the past, it's the foundation of who we are today. Welcome to another edition of Black Gold Texas Tea. In today's show, we're going to take a deep dive into some untold, overlooked, and powerful stories associated with African American history. I'm your host, Sweet Tea, and in this episode, specifically, we're going to explore the triumphs and legacies of Black pioneers and leaders, and even some everyday heroes whose impacts still shape our world. From resilience of those who came before us to the cultural movements that define us today. This particular show will look at the journey through history, our history, a story of strength, brilliance, and perseverance. In this time, especially during the month of February, I thought it important to take a look at what we can learn more about African American history. You see, behind every moment, every triumph, and every breakthrough in history, there are people, voices, stories. And I wanted to do my due diligence to work to uncover some of the lives and legacies associated with African American trailblazers who have certainly shaped our history, and they have powerful themes that continue to inspire us today. When we get to the month of February, often we talk about Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Maya Angelou, and there are others. And we explore the themes associated with their resilience and activism, as well as innovation and culture. We take an examining look at how history connects the present and guides our future. And though these folks in their own right have done some amazing things, there's so much more, so many more who have done even more in our African American history, in our American history. On last Sunday at my church, I'm a member of the Park, Charlotte, led by Bishop Claude Richard Alexander. Shout out to Bishop Alexander. He taught us last Sunday. And I encourage you to even go online on YouTube and look for last Sunday's service because it was amazing. But Dr. Alexander walked down through African American history and he talked about some of the things that I didn't even know was associated with Black history or with Black people. And so I want us to take a look at, we know some things about the civil rights movement. We know about Black Wall Street. We've heard about it a lot lately. We know about the Harlem Renaissance, but all of those things have led us to modern day change makers. And it's still going to be a huge story, but even more so a tribute to the strength and brilliance of our Black experience in the United States. So as we dig deeper, I want you to become close to me, right? Please remember to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. And that way you'll be notified anytime that a podcast show has been uploaded. We want to make sure that you stay connected to me because together we can honor in this show the past, celebrate the present, and inspire the future. So let's get into it a little bit. When Bishop taught on last Sunday, and I really used a lot of his specific words because truly it was a learning experience. Of course, he was speaking initially about, I want to say it was John and Peter. Um, and they were working with the man that after Christ died and was resurrected, he healed this man who had been lame all of his life. And there were folks that came to them that was like, what are you doing? Who did this? Where did this come from? And John and Peter were very direct and they said Jesus did it. And they didn't want to hear about Jesus. And so they told them, be quiet. Don't talk about his name ever again. And they were like, who are you? Whose authority do you have to tell me that I can't talk about Jesus? And as we look at that situation and we look at what's happening in today's world, in today's United States, there's an effort to dismantle the truth about African American history, about African American contributions to this country. And the topic of Bishop's sermon was, we won't shut up. We won't be quiet. Because he mentioned the fact that to compromise one part of the truth would be to compromise the whole truth. We won't shut up. Because to deny the truth about the history of Blacks in this country, the Blacks in America, is to deny the history of America. There is no history of America without the history of Black folks in America. And so today's show, I just want to introduce you to some other things that you may or may not have known about regarding contributions to this country by Black folks. When we look at colonial American economy, there's no colonial American economy without the labor of enslaved Africans. There's no rice economy in South Carolina. There's no tobacco economy in North Carolina without the energy, the knowledge, the expertise of these enslaved Africans, for they brought this with them from Africa, right? I didn't know this. Did you know this? I didn't know this. I had no idea. And even if we just think about the cotton industry, there's no cotton economy without the labor of those African Americans. There's no wall clock, something as simple as a wall clock. There's no wall clock, there's no almanac without the expertise of Benjamin Banneker. And I'm going to be giving you several different names that you may not have even heard of before. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, study to show thyself approved. And what I understand that to mean is that you got to study for yourself, because you can just listen to other people all the time, but people can tell you anything. You're going to have to kind of look at some of this for yourself so that you know you studied it on your own, and it allows you to stand on the truth that you discover. Be careful. Things are changing, and there are a lot of efforts to cover up the truth. One of the truths that I discovered even as an adult, they say, I was today years old when I found out these things, right? Have you ever heard of Sears and Roebuck? When I was growing up, it was called Sears and Roebuck. It was always Sears and Roebuck. Well, Sears had the money. Roebuck had the concept and the ideas about how to build this type of retail giant. But over time, the name Roebuck got dropped, and now we only know it as Sears. You see, that's part of that changing of the history, if you will. So some other names that I want to share with you, because there's a lot of them. So if you're really interested and you really want to know, I encourage you to get a pen or something to write on, because honey, put your belt on and let's get into it. All right. Together, we're going to honor the past, celebrate the present, and inspire the future. So do you understand that there would be no Capitol, no U.S. Capitol or White House without the labor of Black people? No railroad without the labor of Black people? And before some of you get a little testy about that, I know that there weren't just Black people working on the railroads, but do know that we were there present and making that happen. There's no Revolutionary War without the bloodshed of Cypress Attucks, who was the first American to die in the American Revolutionary War. There would be no settlement in the West, or there would be no victory of the Spanish-American War without the Buffalo Soldiers. You may have heard about the Buffalo Soldiers. They got that name because the indigenous Native Americans thought that their hair felt like the hair on a buffalo. So that's where the name came from. There's no victory in World War II without the Tuskegee Airmen, the Red Tails, the 688. And if you haven't seen the movie by Tyler Perry about the 688, you need to. This African American, all Black WAC or WAC group, Women Armed Corps, what it stood for, right? But all of them were Black, and they were given very little to work with, and they were very victorious. The goals that were put in front of them, nobody even expected them to be able to handle. But not only did they manage themselves, not only did they find a way, they got it done in 90 days. Good movie. You want to check that out if you want to learn more. There is no destruction of Hitler's myth of Aryan supremacy, except our dear friend Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals right there in Germany, right in front of Hitler. Ralph Metcalfe went on to win gold and silver in that Olympics. And Cornelius Johnson won the high jump, while John Woodruff received gold for the 800 meter. There was a determination. There was even a documentary about Jesse Owens being there and how Hitler snubbed him when all of those who won gold were supposed to meet Hitler. There's history there. There's no hand mill for grinding corn without George Peak. There's no toilet, no folding table, or even quilting frame or refrigeration without Thomas Elkins. There's no mobile refrigeration without Frederick Jones. There's no automatic elevator doors. You know, the ones that just close automatically? That was invented by Alexander Miles. There would be no gas mask or traffic signal except for Garrett Morgan. Yeah, another African American inventor. No improved filaments of the light bulb without Lewis Howard Latimer. No home security system without Mary Van Britten Brown. No crop location nor products that come from peanuts or sweet potatoes and soybean without our good old friend George Washington Carver. And I say it that way because I grew up hearing about George Washington Carver, but the focus was always on the peanut and peanut butter. Y'all, there would be no tobacco press without John Parker. There would be no hot comb or pomade without Madam C.J. Walker. I'm probably her great niece or some sort, but she was one of the first African-American millionaires in America. There would be no far ultraviolet camera that's used on Apollo 16 without George Carruthers. No blood and pulse monitoring system without Michael Crosland. These are just, y'all, I get excited. There would be no separation of plutonium from uranium without Edwin Robert Russell. No safety deposit box without Henry Brown. No mop if it weren't for Thomas Stewart. No ice cream scoop if it wasn't for Alfred Crail. No ice cream scoop, y'all. No wrench had it not been for Jack Johnson. And for all of my golfers out there, did you know that there wouldn't be a golf tee had it not been for George Franklin Grant? George Franklin Grant, he played golf himself. And I guess he found a need for a tee because he invented one. There would be no fire escape ladder without Joseph Winters. No potato chips if it hadn't been for George Crumb. Now that's a whole little thing right there all by itself. Because I know we all like potato chips. And if I'm not mistaken, it was an accident or he was a little upset. I can't remember. Do your research and find out for yourself. Why did George Crumb invent the potato chip? Or how did he invent the potato chip? There would be no blood banks, no plasma, had it not been for Dr. Charles Drew. No touch-tone phone, y'all, or portable fax without the research of Shirley Ann Jackson. And I know for the kids, and forgive me that I don't know his name, but the Super Soaker was invented by an African American. Again, here in the month of February, I thought it important to share some of those details with you. And as a lover of music, and I know music has no color, but one of the things that I love about several musicians, including James Taylor, is that they recognize that blues and jazz and rock and roll, the foundation of them, came out of African Americans. It's a beautiful thing to think about all of the contributions. And this is just scratching the surface. I encourage you to take a look at all the names that I've shared with you today. I would encourage you to not only learn for yourself, but share with others. Because remember, history is not just the past. It's the foundation on which we stand for the present and the future. For sure. Ready to close out today's show. I thought I would share what is known as the Negro National Anthem, maybe called the Black National Anthem now. Lift every voice and sing. This song has a lot of history within this country and comes from a very, very, very strong background. It's now called the Black National Anthem, and it was written as a hymn. It was a poem by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson in 1900, and his brother John Rosamond Johnson composed the music for the lyrics. A choir of 500 school children at a segregated school in Stanton School, where James Weldon Johnson was the principal, first performed the song in public in Jacksonville, Florida, to celebrate President Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And then at the turn of the century, the 20th century, Johnson's lyrics eloquently captured the solemn yet hopeful appeal for the liberty of Black Americans. It was set against the religious invocation of God and the promise of freedom. The song was later adopted by the NAACP as prominently used in rallying during the civil rights movement during the 1950s and the 1960s. And I'm one of those babies back in there somewhere. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to begin to close with the Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the present, the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. I wonder what James Weldon Johnson was really thinking, how he really felt when he wrote those words. I know to this very day, that is one of the most powerful songs in the African American community. And I didn't do it all the justice. I'm a little hoarse. But I hope that when you hear the melody, when you hear the words, you remember that African American history is American history, and one cannot exist without the other. Thanks for joining me on this journey for today's Black Gold Texas Tea Show. Remember to subscribe, and also remember, you want to live the rest of your life as the best of your life. Let it start today. Until next time, God bless.